Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters Net podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Join me today is some special guests hailing from Deutschland. We got Kevin and we got Sophie from the band Multivariate Outliers. How y'all doing today?
Hi, Brian. Doing great. Thank you very much. We are very honored to be here on the show, and we're looking forward to talking to you about all kinds of things, including our music.
Yes, thank you for having us.
No worries. And just to fill in the audience too, it turns out Joel Dubois, aka Steam Slicer, was actually also meant to be on this interview too. But I guess we congratulate him because I guess he recently had a child. Is that the story, Kevin?
That's exactly right. So as so often, the more important things in life get away and get in the way of doing fun things like these. So he's spending time with his family right now, and he sadly can't be here right now.
All right, sounds good. Actually, I interviewed him recently, but that was when he was under his persona of Steam Slicer. So, what did they do? I don't know. He was already used to the questions already, so we at least don't get to spoil anything during this interview here. So, I guess, how y'all been? What's new?
Oh, well, we've been keeping busy. Last few weeks we've tried to get more and more work done on our second album, which is long overdue. We have been doing some recordings. As always, some new ideas kind of find their way into the process, and then even a new song kind of came out of the blue, which is always a good thing, actually. But kind of moves everything else back a little bit as well. But we're really excited about all the new music that we've been working on for, well, the past 2 years, actually, and are looking forward to finally releasing it this year.
All right, sounds good. I checked out some of your music before hopping on here just to get a little study in about what you guys are like. So you get to elaborate more on it in just a little bit too. So Sophie and Kevin, I want to welcome you both to my podcast right here. And the way this is going to work is just going to ask you some questions. Let's get to know you more both as the musicians, but also as the individuals too. So are you both ready?
Yep. Born ready.
Okay. I was waiting on Sophie. She muted herself. Okay. So we are gentlemen here. So Sophie, you can go first for this one here. So tell us a little about yourself. I guess, what's your backstory and how did you become a musician?
I have a classical background. So I started in, early childhood. And I was in many choirs along the way, and then I got to the pop music. I think in the a cappella group during my studies, and then I had a band, and there I met Kevin, and then we started the Multivariate Outliers. So that's it in very short.
Got a nice little short story in under a minute. So, all right, that's pretty cool. I guess, Kevin?
Yeah, well, music has really been, with me my whole life. My parents are not really musicians, like professional musicians themselves, but just very passionate music lovers. So I can barely remember a time at home where we didn't have music on in the background. So that always was something that has been there with me. And what was always very very cool now looking back at this is it was just very many different kinds of music that have always been around me. So my dad really loved classical music, whereas my mom was more into pop and rock, but also classical music as well. She was very wide, had a very wide taste in music as well. And I think that's something that I really brought on with my own taste in music as well, is that I just love everything. So I have a background in classical music as well, having gone to music university to become a music teacher. But at the same time, what I've always kept alive is just my passion for pop and rock music. And that's, for some reason, I find it easier to express myself in that. So that's why writing music in those genres is something that is hugely important to my musical life, and I couldn't really imagine being without that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I guess some of the classical music that you both were in, and Sophie, you can ask this first. Were you more into like Beethoven, Bach, and all the big wigs?
Well, I was in choirs and I didn't really have a choice. So yes, I did those things, but when I'd have to choose at the moment, I'd say it's more literature from the present. So it's, I don't know if you know the composers Lauritsen or Whittaker. I really like music from those people, and I really like to sing that. So yeah.
I'm sure if I have. It does sound familiar. I think I keep thinking of too much of Vivaldi and the four seasons that he would normally do. Because I used to do cello way back in the day. And
Cool.
so you obviously got used to doing Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, all the big shots and everything too. So that's why I asked. I'm not too sure how many of the songs actually had both an ensemble band as well as a chorus mixed into it. Because ours over here in the States, we actually did it more during the Christmas season when we would fuse the three together. Did like this little Christmas carols and everything too. So not sure if, did you guys do something similar?
I did the Christmas oratorio. Is that the right word? I don't know. Once, and it was, well, let's say it was on my bucket list, but I'm not really sad not doing it anymore. So because I just like the newer things more. But I think it's great to have that as a base to just to build up on.
Well, yeah, to the resume. It's something that gives us a nice little credential. So I guess let's go and jump into the band a little bit too. So I guess first off, who came up with the name?
It's actually.
Do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, it's. I studied psychology. Well, I studied psychology, and Kevin proofread my bachelor and also my master thesis. And in my bachelor thesis, I did some analysis on outliers. And then I had, for this outlier analysis, we have Mahalanobis distances and blah, 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 all that nerdy stuff. And then there was also the term, we excluded this data for multivariate, for being multivariate outliers. And then we said, if we are ever going to start a project, a new project, then we're going to name it Multivariate Outliers. So that's where the name came from.
Well, the way I remember it is that we stumbled upon the words multivariate outliers, and I said to Sophie, "Well, that's a band name right there." And she said, "Really? I don't think so." And I said, "Well, think about it." And then I think because Sophie in all her wisdom and diplomacy then said, "Yeah, we'll put a pin in that. If we ever start another project, that's going to be the name." So then it did come to pass that we started this new project, the multivariate what has then become the multivariate outliers. And then I said, you did say that that's going to be the band name.
You got the initials too with MO. So unfortunately, if you wanted to use that, people will think like, oh, you're talking about modus operandi or something along that line. As people say like MO in terms of like the person who commits a crime does like a series of murders or something like that. Or any sort of crime, really, when you think about it. But actually, no, that's pretty clever, too. And I guess, how'd you guys meet Joel?
Oh, that's funny. I met him over work, actually. So he worked in the school administration at the school that I teach at. And we just got to talking, and he said, yeah, he also plays drums and all kinds of, and also guitar and bass and everything. And I said, wow, that's cool. Well, I make music as well. And then we kind of just got to talking, and we met privately, and he showed me his work that he had been doing on his EP and also on his album before anything else. And then I listened to it, and I thought, wow, okay, that's a musician right there. It'd be really interesting to work together with him, because Joel wasn't part of the band at that point yet. It was just this duo project between Sophie and me, and that's also the album that we've already released, Embracing the Illusion, is actually before Joel joined us. So for our new material that's going to be coming out this year, he's contributed to that. but not for the first album. But so we showed him our album. He showed me what he was working on, and we were both wrapped in mutual admiration. And then we figured, why don't we try to combine forces, which was a really good idea, because I think I'm pretty good at making arrangements and playing guitar and keys and all that stuff. And I think I can program drums in an okay way, but it's just but since I don't play the drums myself, it kind of lacks the feel for it, for somebody who has, actually sat behind the kit for many years. So that's where Joel came in, actually, is because I said, I think I need somebody to look over my drum tracks, or to write drum tracks, actually, to take our music to the next level. And I'm really looking forward to releasing the new stuff with the new and improved beats.
Small world after all. Actually, which part of Germany are you both hailing from? Are you both living in the same town?
Yep, we're living in Heidelberg at the moment. I've been born in Leipzig, so more in the western part. But yeah, we're in the eastern.
Eastern.
Yeah, I'm very good at geography. No, just kidding. I do know where Leipzig is.
Or at least I would hope you know. Right. Kevin, are you also in Heidelberg as well?
Yeah, so I also live in Heidelberg, but I come from Stuttgart, which isn't too far away from here. It's just like an hours and a half car drive from here. So for American distances, it's right in the neighborhood. For German distances, it's very far away.
Right away.
It's like you better pack snacks far away. But yeah, so. And we both met here, since we both studied in Heidelberg, and way we met was over a different band project, actually, and we made music in that constellation for many years, until that kind of petered out, and we started the Multivariate Outliers instead.
I see. Actually, I had to laugh because there actually was a university that I almost went to when I was getting ready to go off to college, and it happened to be in the state of Ohio, which, as you would say, it was a bit of a nice drive. It was still doable, but it was one of those things, pack a little snacks in order to make sure you come prepared and everything. It was nice, and pretty much it had a string program. It pretty much had everything I needed, but it was just too far away from home. So we decided to stick with one that was only an hour away from home, so I was able to go home on weekends. So that worked out in the end. So I guess just for the audience's sake, can you guys just tell us what sort of role you play in the band?
Yeah, well, I'm the singer. Well, at least parts.
Most of the time.
Yes. And I write some of the songs and some of the lyrics.
And I guess I write the rest of the songs and the rest of the lyrics, and I sing the rest of the bits that Sophie doesn't sing. I guess I could put it that way. So I do most of the composing, arranging, producing. So that's most of it is in my hands, but none of this would have ever come to be without collaborating with Sophie, which has always been incredibly fruitful. We just connect on a creative level that is just wonderful, because I kind of get stuck in my head with things very often, and Sophie just has a very natural way of just going at things, and also what took a little bit of getting used to at first, but which has proven to be very, very valuable, is that she has a very direct way of giving feedback, which saves a lot of time.
That's good. Yeah, definitely giving the feedback and everything too definitely helps. First off, builds cohesion as one thing too within the group as well. As well as also saying like, hey, maybe just alterate this a little bit too, and then it would sound a lot better. So, but sometimes that's when creative differences, I think, kind of get in the way, and that's why you see like a lot of big bands and to break it up because of that. So it might have been related to like a number of things, but I always think when they say creative differences, something like they probably didn't like the fact they wanted to change like lyrics or anything like that. So let's see why. I guess is Joel just doing a whole lot with like drums, bass, and guitar wise with the group?
Well, for us, mostly he's doing the drums, just because very often when I start to have ideas, I start arranging them right away. So I'm sure he would be able to do much more if I were just a tiny bit more patient. So he really comes into with the drums, but has also proven to be invaluable when it comes to talking about song structures and just also the nitty-gritty details of arrangement and producing, and so what it usually looks like is that on the songwriting end, Sophie and I collaborate very well, and then when it comes to polishing things up and getting things into the producing stage, then that's where Joelle and I work together very well. Yeah.
I think you might have harped on it earlier, but did you guys start working on this project like during the school years, or did you start really focusing on it like after you guys graduated?
Well, see, we don't think about the timeline like that, I guess, because the reason why our band kind of teetered out before we started our old band teetered out before we started to do the Multivariate Outliers was that the pandemic hit and we were no longer able to get together, because we were a big band. We had like at the end we were 7 members, is that right?
Yeah.
So we had drums, bass, guitar, keys, saxophone, trumpet, and trombone, and a total of 2 or 3 singers. And I've named too many musicians. I know it's more than 7 people. That's because we were just switching around instruments and everything. It was crazy. I mean, it was super. It was so cool. It was so much fun. And that band came to be while we were all still studying at university, and we're more flexible in how we could find and make time for the band. And what has then become more and more difficult even before the pandemic was to find time together to really commit to practicing and finding gigs that all of us could attend. And it just turned out that it was too difficult to get the large group together so often. And then, of course, I mean, I don't really need to talk about details here. We've all been there. I mean, everything was shut down, and so then you're in a band and you have a horn section. So that means you can't play during the pandemic at all. And it was during that time that I really started getting into home recording, and I asked Sophie, as my favorite collaborator, to tag along on my experiments in recording. And that's how the project was born, I guess.
Sophie came to Kevin's laboratory instead of Dexter's laboratory. Now we call it Kevin's laboratory. So actually, the way we were kind of describing your bands earlier, it almost sounded like it was like Tower of Power or something like that too.
Well,
kind of like doing like a Frank Sinatra sort of style.
From the instruments, yes, but we really weren't a funk band. It's strange actually, because anybody who, that we talked to about like the lineup of our band always said, "Oh wow, cool! You so you do funk music?" I said, "No, it was more like elaborate pop songs that had polyphonic horn arrangements that were unnecessarily complicated and yeah."
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun.
It was.
That's what music should do. It should be a lot of fun as well. Actually, the reason I brought that up earlier was because normally, especially with me, I was really preoccupied doing American football during the fall. So I was always like real busy, like doing schoolwork and football wise. So I was thinking like, were you guys like pretty preoccupied doing like, I don't know, do you guys do sororities actually? Now that I mention it, do you have sororities or anything like that at the universities?
There are some, but it's a very elite club, usually, like in a negative way. So I don't think we have anything that's really comparable.
Yeah, it's not really a thing, and if it is a thing, then it's also political, I'd say, in most cases or in some cases.
I was gonna say I think it involved drinking or something like that too, because that seems to be what a lot of the American sorority clubs tend to do as an initiation sort of way too. So I can see why. I always want to ask because I'm actually curious what the culture is like in terms of other European countries as well too. So I wanted to see if they have some similarities between what we have in the States. So that's interesting too.
Well, Germans
And
do quite well at drinking even without the sororities. So
well, it's St. Patrick's Day here too, so you think you can match
oh
up with the
yeah.
Irish? So all right. I'd like to see if we get a German and an Irish band together and see how well they can do in a drinking contest. I think after that we have to bring in a Russian afterwards and see how well those guys work out. So I know you talked about COVID right there. So I guess in terms of on a personal level, and maybe if you want to elaborate anything else in the music wise, how bad did COVID impact you, your families, and music?
Well, I mean, it was sad for the band, but it was good for the Multivariate Outliers because I don't know if we would be Multivariate Outliers if it hadn't been for the pandemic. I don't know. And I think for the family, I don't know. I think like for in my family, we got a bit closer together because we from so from one to the other day we had more time, so we did more calls, like Skype calls, also with my family that's still in Leipzig. And I think family-wise, it was fine. I don't know. I started my master's degree during the pandemic, and I was a bit sad that I didn't really meet my my study buddies, and I didn't really have some because I've never met them in person. But I think music-wise, I cannot say that it was all bad. I think it was for Multivariate Outliers really a good thing, actually. So
it's very hard to talk about this tactfully because so many people were so negatively affected by the pandemic, and we are aware of that. But we were just talking about this a few days ago, and we kind of recognized that for us, the pandemic was the starting point of something that is very valuable to us now, actually. So it's at the risk of saying this horrible cliche, but if life gives you lemons, I guess the band is kind of the lemonade we made from the situation, music wise. At least, and even and then after Sophie and I talked about that, I was on my way home. I was thinking about that some more, and actually that came into play twice because first of all, the project started due to our band not being able to rehearse anymore, and second of all, so I got so when I had COVID, which was in March 2022. I tested positive, but I was basically without symptoms. I mean, thank goodness. But that meant I couldn't go to work for a week or a week and a half. But I was feeling okay. I just, didn't want to get anybody else sick. But that was just a very, very happy very, very, very happy timing because that was just before that was just after I had most of the songs finished for our first release. And then I had a week where I didn't have to go to work. I could take the time then to go over everything and mix and master everything. And probably without me getting sick in that week, the release wouldn't have happened for at least another month, just because I need so much time to work on the music, like at in one sitting, that it's very difficult to find that in just everyday life.
Because they had a little spring break, as we normally like to do. So I can see why.
Yeah.
In a matter of speaking, yeah. So I can see why. But it's good to see you are doing well there too. And I guess, Sophie, did you have any brushes with COVID?
not really.
That's good to hear. It's good to have you guys along for the ride here too. So, and I guess outside of maybe starting multivariant outliers, I guess, was there any other blessings in disguise you guys think came out of COVID?
Big question there.
You think maybe it also helped in terms of your careers and your main jobs?
I really wouldn't say so. In my case, that was so the pandemic hit when I started my student teaching, which really sucked because it turns out, well, I'm really good in front of a class and not quite as good theoretically on paper, just planning the lessons and doing the stuff. I'm more like a in the moment kind of guy. So that actually wasn't all too good so for my professional career, because I couldn't really play to my strengths that well. But all in all, I think I'm going to speak for both of us now here, Sophie. I think we can just be very fortunate that that we feel very fortunate that COVID has left us and our families more or less untouched. So that I think is the thing that is most important to us.
All right, that's good to hear. And we'll elaborate more on challenges in just a little bit here. But as I said before, it's good to see you guys made it through COVID. It's good to see all Myth doing well as well. All right. Why don't you talk about the gear that you guys use too? So I guess, Kevin, if you want to start, because I think he's the big tech guy here.
Yeah, I guess that's my
forte.
Yeah, that's my realm, if you will. So far things have been more or less simple. It all started with just like a freebie intro software to Reason, which actually I'm wondering if that really is the best DAW for the kind of music that we're making, because I think it's really great for like EDM and anything that has to do a lot with synthesizers and stuff like that. I mean, it's a fantastic DAW for those things, and I enjoy dabbling in that a lot. So for that, it's cool. But what I always found very intuitive about it is that it looks like analog equipment, and coming from a live band going into a recording band, I thought it was a very easy way to get into things, because it's a little extra, I guess, in the program, but you can actually see where the cables go. There's just little depictions of cables, and I just saw that and I said, oh my goodness, that's so cute, and I wanted to give that a go. And I'm sure many people who started with audio production, they start with basically a random DAW, and then they get used to it and they learn the ropes, and then you're stuck. That's the DAW you're going to be using, because it just takes so much time and energy and investment into it, learning a new DAW. And I don't see myself doing that. Now that I know that how to do the things that I want to do, I'm probably going to stick with that. So that's basically the flagship of all of my production is it all happens in there with many virtual instruments. And then I do a lot on acoustic guitar that I just record with like a stereo mic setup. I got a 5-string bass here behind me that I play all the bass lines on if I don't use a synth bass. Most of the keyboard is just keyboards I play over a MIDI keyboard that then I have more control over my own performance, trying to find, the perfect take, and also making the perfect take a little more perfect is easier using MIDI than using audio. I'm not going to be too proud to admit that many of the things aren't, just they're not like quantized to the grid, but I do enjoy the luxury of moving a note over once or twice. So that's something that happens more in the digital realm. Whereas all my guitar parts, usually I just try to get live in the take and without too much cutting, because I think that kind of destroys the vibe, on the other hand. Well, so I try to keep things simple. I mean, I just have this Godin electric guitar that I've been playing since I was 14. I mean, I'm long overdue to get a new e-guitar, I guess, but it just it's just still feels right to play on it. So I try to make a lot out of not too much equipment, actually.
Sometimes less is more whenever you think about it too. And I guess, Sophie, do you use a microphone to record your vocals, and then do you send the finished track to Kevin here to mess around with?
No, I'm afraid I really don't have a lot to do with all the technical stuff. So normally we meet for recordings, and then Kevin brings all the technical things, and I bring my voice. And no, really, he brings the microphone and all of the plugins and the big box for recordings. And yeah, I just sing. So I'm in a very comfortable position.
So it's the big magic box, is what we like to call it too.
Yeah, well, Sophie's being a little too humble there, because the big box only came to be because she had the brilliant idea to take it started out just as a cardboard box. Well, actually, since we don't have a vocal booth, we've never set foot in a professional recording studio. It'd be fantastic if we ever did, but so far we've been very happy in our living rooms and bedrooms producing everything that we've been doing. And it all started out with just setting up some mic stands and tossing like old blankets and duvets over them to make this makeshift vocal booth that to deaden the sound a little bit, at least, so that I don't have like the sound of, our living room on every vocal recording. So we have these great. I'm sure we have pictures of these somewhere. We'll have to dig them up. Maybe we'll post one of them on our socials sometime. Basically, they were just blanket forts or pillow forts, if you want, that we set up to do vocal recordings in, and that took. To get that right, sometimes it took almost as long as the actual vocal recording, just the whole setup of it, which was really frustrating because you really needed like at least half a day just to get one song recorded, and we just thought that was kind of ridiculous after a while. And Sophie had this wonderful idea to take this huge cardboard box that she had from, I think it was a new piece of furniture that you got or something like that, and to kit it out with some sound absorbing foam, poking a hole in the bottom so we can shove a mic stand through there. And ever since, we've had this, well, to the dismay of my wife, we've had this really huge box blocking the way. I mean, there's if you go into our little basement compartment that we have here that goes along with this apartment, if you want to do anything down there, if you want to get anything out of there, you will have to take this box out, which is really cumbersome. Because it is objectively too big to get anything done. And my wife must love me dearly, because she permits me to keep that huge box down there and be in the way all the time.
I'm just imagining she's like, Kevin, I love you, but you are killing me with this fucking box here. So
Yeah. But I think we did another very intelligent. Well, actually, not we. Sophie and her husband did a very intelligent thing when it came to that, because on the back side of the box, and I don't think anybody has seen this yet, other than us. And I think this is another thing that here I am teasing things, but this might be another thing that we might want to show the world, because I'm very proud of this. So my favorite classical composer is Gustav Mahler. And out of the blue, one day, Sophie asked me which of the classical composers was my favorite, and I told her. And then a week later, she shows up with this box that has the sound absorbing foam on the inside, and on the outside, on the back. And like I said, this is a huge box. Is this huge portrait hand drawn by Sophie's husband of Gustav Mahler. So if my wife does have a problem with the box, then I kind of play the card. Well, you can't do that to Gustav. I mean, come on, it's Gustav. So yeah, we kind of future-proofed that.
Yeah, it's like what the hell, man, or something like that. So I can see why. Actually, is there like a really small like closet? Because this is kind of the same thing I do over here with my little closet. And I've done a couple collaborations with some people in our indie community, which we can talk about in just a bit. But I've done some of my vocals in here. Kind of leave the door open. I just walk right in after I just hit record. So is it kind of similar to that, Kevin, or is it kind of a little bit different, maybe a little bit wider?
Well, it's not huge, but it's funny because every time we set it up, ever since we started using it, we look at each other and say, "Boy, this is real nice, isn't it?" Whereas probably anybody who ever set foot into like a professional recording studio will look at it and say, "That's kind of cute," but we're really proud of our little do-it-yourself recording booth that we put together there.
I mean, you got to in this case. Otherwise, you got to spend a pretty penny just to soundproof maybe some part of your wall or something too. So I can see why.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of COVID earlier, I guess, how's the music scene been in your neck of the woods too? Has Heidelberg had at least a decent music scene? Then did COVID kind of like knock it down a little bit, and has it been rebuilding since? I guess everyone wants to answer it. So.
Yeah, well, I think the music scene in Heidelberg is maybe there, but maybe not. I don't know. It's not that big. I don't know. If you really want to have go to a club or anything like that, then probably you would go to Mannheim, which is the next bigger city. I think there's 1 or 2 locations that closed during the pandemic that have not reopened. But I'm not really sure, since the music scene is not so big. It was not that big of a deal, I'd say.
I think it's also Heidelberg in particular isn't a very musical city to start with. I think, but what comes on top of that is just that the music scene in Germany, I think, is a bit less grassroots than it is in other countries. At least that's like the idea that I've never lived anywhere else than Germany, so I can't really speak to this. But it seems to me that when I go on vacation, especially in English-speaking countries, it seems like live music every Friday. You see that every second bar or whatever. Every second night they have live music or whatever, and you'd be hard pressed to find a lot of places that do that here in Germany. Most of the bars and restaurants and stuff like that, they don't have that on offer, and if they do, then it's maybe this once in a month special kind of thing. But that also kind of then gives less bands or fewer bands and fewer musicians the opportunity to actually go and play a venue. So that, I guess, and that in part is also what kind of made the Multivariate Outliers come to be, was our frustration of finding gigs for our old band, which kind of went in 2 phases. First of all, you needed a gig in the first place that you could play theoretically, and then you needed to get the huge band to have time then, and that just made it quasi impossible to really find a place and a time to play. So that's kind of why this project has turned into a recording project, because all the time and energy that we put into practicing with the band now just goes into recording. But that's something that I know is going to see the light of day sometime, whereas practicing for gigs that might or might not happen became increasingly frustrating. So during the last few months that we still tried to keep the band alive.
I'm gonna say you need like your own version of Nashville in Germany, and then maybe that would help bring the music scene into various parts. Because actually, is Heidelberg part of Bavaria?
Actually, no, we're part of Baden-Württemberg, which is like the neighboring state, although we're on the far side of the state. So for what a German thinks is far away, Bavaria is very far away.
I know it's huge too because I've actually been to Munich twice. So
Oh, cool. Nice.
So of course, being in the Hofbräuhaus of all the dancers and everything too.
Of course.
All that stuff. Actually, the first one was a German trip I took with my German club way back when I was in high school. Between junior year going into senior year, it was the first time I actually went overseas. Went to Salzburg, seen all that a little bit. Then we shot up to Munich for a couple of days. I just got to see Neuschwanstein as well, so that was pretty nice. And you guys ever been?
Yes, I actually have been there. So I also thought it was really nice, but we had a very foggy day when we went there, and you could not see the castle unless you were like, I think it was 20 or 30 meters away from it. It was, I don't know, it was crazy. I've never seen fog like that.
It was the same way with me. We couldn't even see it from, I guess, that little bridge where the waterfall is, and you just had to look down, and there it is. But no, you couldn't even see it, and you probably couldn't even see like maybe a few feet in front of you.
We were at that viewpoint, and you couldn't see it from there. And then my husband did a photo montage, and with the castle of I don't know, it was something Lord of the Rings. And it's just really funny because it was just really like a green screen, but with gray fog. I don't know. It was, yeah. But we saw it in a different day, so just from the distance, it was fine.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Even though I think the king was a little out there, to be honest, too. We'll just say it that way.
He loved music, though. Was a great Wagner fan, and actually gave him quite a bit of money. So yeah, he was really out there, but he got his priorities straight.
Well, he just knew to put music first, so at least he wasn't that crazy, to be honest. Okay, so that's all good too. And I guess let's jump into influences a little bit too. So I know both of you talked about classical inspiration as well too. Did you guys get inspired by any like classic rock groups or even like some other music that came out of Germany that maybe influenced your playing styles?
No, not from Germany.
Not really, no.
Sorry.
And I was really searching. I thought, come on, there's got to be this one German band that and the only thing I can come up with is this German hip hop band. They're called Die Fantastischen Vier, and I loved them as a kid. I just thought their beats were really cool, and their lyrics were they were very quirky and funny, and also a little bit. Some of them were not especially critical of anything, but just criticizing how things are done and stuff like that. So that's the only thing that comes to mind, really. But are they like a huge influence on the music that I make? Probably not so much. Aside from the fact that they themselves have quite an eclectic range of styles that they dabble in for their different beats and songs. So that might be just the only thing that kind of that I could take from that is this pick and choose from different genres that they also did.
Yeah.
I was also known for Rammstein.
Excuse me?
I was say you're also known for Rammstein too, so I mean that's at least another thing you could be proud of. I'm sorry, Sophie, what were you saying earlier?
No, I was just saying I think they're great German bands, but not really that influence the music, I'd say. I think there is an a cappella group. I'm really into a cappella music, and there's a German a cappella group that I really like. I don't know if you've heard of the Wise Guys, but those are really nice. But yeah, if you talk about influence, then I think you probably mean bands that you heard when you were young. And so I listened to the Cranberries a lot because my sister liked it, and I listened to the same music that she did, and so I think that's probably an influence for me because I just heard to it, I listened to every song and heard it up and down.
So I guess outside of, I know you mentioned Cranberries too, but I guess Kevin, who influenced you outside of Germany, like maybe other genres?
That's a really good question. I find it hard to pinpoint any influence just because I've never really set out to sound like somebody else, which kind of sounds like I'm this really crazy artistic guy that has his own idea of his music, which really isn't the case. I just, go where my ideas just take me in the moment. So it's not like I have this grand idea of what's going to happen. And I think actually that's also why I find it hard to pinpoint influences, because I've never really said, okay, I'm going to make a song that sounds like these guys or that goes into this genre, because that kind of saddles me, and I kind of need to do that then. And if I get an idea that doesn't really fit into that genre in that moment, or that I want to do something completely different, just because that's where the spur of the moment took me, then I would have to tell myself, no, don't do this. You can't go into the bridge section in the style of a bossa nova after you've already had this metal part that came before. Crazy example, don't worry. I'd love to write that track, to be honest. But it's just that I kind of don't want. I just don't want to limit myself to something, and I've never really I'm giving you a very long answer for this, just to tell you that it's very hard for me to name influences. And if I really have to answer it, and it sounds like a really vanilla answer, but you know what? I just really love the Beatles. Just because every song is like this new idea, and they took all the influences that they had around them in their lives and everything that they heard, and they made it into their own little thing without thinking too much about, well, is this going to be what it's supposed to be? And thought rather, okay, we're going to make this now, and it's going to be exactly what we think it's supposed to be. And I just have a huge amount of respect for musicians that just go for it and just draw from everything that they've known and make their own thing.
That's a good choice. You can never go wrong with the Beatles that much too. So you can think John Lennon, I guess Paul McCartney, I guess whoever else was really the main lyricist for all the music too. So good choices nonetheless.
It kind of feels like a cop-out, because, I mean, anybody and everybody can always say the Beatles, of course, but, yeah.
There you go, Meg too, so I can see why. But at the end of the day, I think he's more of a Rammstein guy at heart, so. Yeah, that's all cool. Yeah. And I forgot to ask this earlier, I guess. How would you guys describe your genre of music, too?
Oh, boy, here we go.
Oh, no.
Yep, I think this is where it starts getting tricky. But let's put him on the spot. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, wow. See, and this is horrible. I mean, we put that album out there 2 years ago now, and we still don't know what to call it. What we're doing, and maybe I don't know. I think it's also because we're not really interested in labeling it. But the question, of course, comes up many times. And the more or less pretentious answer that I've kind of come up with is that it's sophisticated pop music. And by that I mean it's still pop music by the largest sense of the word, that it's nothing too crazy or too out there, or it's not really rock enough for it to be really in rock, but it's not at the same time it doesn't follow like pop formulas, not all the time at least, and kind of takes detours around it. So it's kind of, I guess, what I want it to be is music that is easy to listen to on the one hand, but at the same time music that you can listen to time and time again, and always find little new nuances and tidbits. So like if you take to speak of this like as a metaphor, is that when you take a look at it from far away, you think, wow, cool, that's a song that works, and that's really beautiful. And then if you step closer and really lean into it, then I hope then people will also hear, or in my metaphor, see the amount of detail that we try to put into it, and all the the little things that just keep it interesting over a long amount of time.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, genres, they get a little bit tricky at times too. Normally you're able to answer it right off the bat because you at least know a little bit, but I think it also delves into the influences they're talking about earlier too. So I can see why. Sometimes they get a little crazy with it because you sometimes get like a little mesh of like all the different genres. In your case, maybe soft rock with a little bit of hip hop here and there. So I can see why.
Yeah, I guess we have those electronica bits in there that kind of put a little bit of a more modern spin on things. Really excited about our new material because I think it's gone more, at least the songs that we're going to be putting out next have gone more into I think, more traditional band-like constellation. At least a lot of them are. It's just it's easier identifiable as, okay, we got drums, we got bass, we got a few guitars and a few keys. Whereas I think our first release was more like this vibey kind of thing with a lot of pads in the background and and these electronic drums more predominantly that kind of put this kind of like this cloud around things. I think with our new material, we're a little more direct. So I'll be I'm really excited to see how people react to this shift in our sound a little bit.
I would say careful with shifts because I've been normally this is because I listen to a lot of metal music too. So it seems like when one band's doing maybe a little shift to more cleaner vocals, for instance, normally doesn't go too well. But I think in your case, it should work out pretty well too. So, Michelle, best luck there. We'll see what happens.
Probably because we never really stopped shifting. So it's not like we really set out to do anything different. This is just, again, this is the place that our ideas took us, and we just tried to follow.
Hey, that's all you can really do at this point. But at the same time, good luck there, mates. Can't wait to hear what you guys got. So earlier, you guys mentioned that you both seem to share the lyric duties as well. So I guess, what inspires your lyrical content? Is it mainly within the subjects you guys work with? I guess, Sophie, if you want to start.
Okay, yeah, well, I think mostly it's what's going on in the life. I think that's probably for a lot of people who write lyrics, I'd say. And yeah, for example, if you take a song from the new album, it's called What If, and it's a very calm song. And I wrote the lyrics to that when I had a very, very stressful phase in my life. So it was just the opposite. And what I hoped for in that moment, what would come so that it be less stressful at one point again. And yeah, also now I wrote 2 songs about my little daughter that was just born a few months ago. And of course, there are some lyrics about her. And then I also wrote a song for the wedding, and that song's about my husband. So I think it's mainly life events and and about feelings and that are up to date in the moment. I think Kevin put it one day, it's a bit like writing a diary. And you can go back to old songs and then you know what was important at that time and what were your feelings and thoughts at that time. And yeah, it's really nice to have that kind of a diary.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say, first off, before Kevin, you say something, congratulations, Sophie. So welcome her to the world. So
thanks.
Okay. And Kevin?
I think for me, mostly my lyrics revolve around relationships in one way or another that I have with different people, that I have with myself, that I have with things I like to do, be it writing music or also just the relationship they have of having to get up every morning and do my job rather than doing music and things like that. So it's just so things that, as Sophie also already said, it's just, life as it finds me and how I react to it, and I try to put that into words, and the result of which, of course, is this beautiful collection of little poems that you've written across your life, and then 3 years later you take a look at what you've written, the lyrics that you know by heart, and you've kind of forgotten what they were about because they've just become so second nature to the song. And if you take another listen to what you've actually written so many years ago, sometimes it becomes surprising what actually was going on with you and how different a person you have become. So I think that's just something that is so fascinating to me, is that I can just make little time capsules of lyricism that sometimes are good, sometimes are really horrible, sometimes are just mediocre. But it's what I try to do is put enough truth in there that when I come back to them at some point, that I take a look at them and say, oh, that's right. That's how I felt at that moment. I really wish I had found a better rhyme here, but that's what I felt like. So that's something that I really love. And I love playing with perspectives. So sometimes when I write about relationships, I isn't always I and you isn't always you. Sometimes it's the other way around. I wrote this one song about a friend of mine who, this was before the pandemic. He called me on the phone one day, and I met him at music university, and he said, you know what, I'm quitting my day job. I'm going all in. I'm going to become a full-time musician, and I want you to be on board. I need you to play guitar for me. What do you say? Let's get going. And I'm more of a careful person in life, so with big decisions like that, I was like, oh, okay, buddy, this sounds great, but I kind of got bills to pay and stuff, so I respect that you're all in, but I can't really follow the path that you're going down there. But if you need me to play guitar, I'll give it my best. And that's kind of how that was, and this song came out of this. It's called Dreaming, which hopefully sadly it's not coming out on the next album because it still needs a little bit more work. But I'm confident we're going to release it someday. And it's just it's written out of his perspective, telling me that life's too short to just dream of the things you want to do. You just need to go out there and do them. And I kind of wrote it in this feeling of hubris of everything's going to be just fine and everything's going to be great, and just blind to all of the things that might go wrong, just because I thought, wow, it's really ridiculous how he's, throwing caution to the wind. And after I was finished with the song, and I'm sure it took me about a year or so to realize this, that through his perspective, I wrote more about myself and what I wish I would be able to do than actually what it wasn't about him at all. It was more about what I kind of wanted to do, but never had the courage to really go through. So and things like that, it just amazes me that I find new context for things that I thought I knew about when I was writing them, and it's I think it's magical in a way.
Yeah, that's for sure too. I guess, how's your friend been recently? Is he still living the dream as a musician?
Well, that's the thing. The pandemic hit, and that kind of really, destroyed all the plans that he had laid. So I'm not quite sure. I haven't talked to him very much since then. Sadly, I'll have to reach out to him again and see what he's doing. I catch the one or the other post on social media, and it looks like he's doing fine, but I have no idea career-wise what he was doing right now. From what I gather, it isn't full-time music.
I guess it wouldn't be anymore since he really couldn't do any shows or any sort of. I guess they do. I forget what they call the terminology whenever you be a musician out on the street. You'd say playing your acoustic guitar, for instance, or passerbyers. They do something like that at all, or is it not very big in Heidelberg? Dave.
So there's
Or Kevin, yeah.
I did that once, and there's this I did some busking in Heidelberg, but the Germans have a very German way of doing that. So they tell you exactly the 3 places where you are allowed to stand and make music, and they also tell you between which and which time you are allowed to do this. So you can't do this anywhere. You just can't set up and start playing guitar, but it needs to be exactly at the corner of these streets and only between 3 and 4 p.m. And if you're there at 15 minutes past 4 p.m., the police will actually show up, as I can tell you from my own experience, and kindly ask you to move on, which I think is just ridiculous.
That's it, man. You Germans are strict.
The best thing is that the city of Heidelberg just this past year had this big street music and busking festival. And I just saw the posters for this and I thought, yeah, you hypocrites.
Yeah, you needed a little bit more of a bigger crowd to come in. So, yeah. If it was money talks, as they would say, money talks. So
that's it, yeah.
Tragically. And I guess you say you still got that works from your previous outlet you were talking about with that friend of yours. I guess you plan to release it soon, or are you just waiting for him to give you the okay?
No, well, actually, that's just a song that I wrote actually for our old band. So the band that kind of was the band before Multivariate Outliers. And we played that with that band already, and it's just that I felt that the music that we're putting out on our next release because here's the thing, we have so many styles going on at the same time that it felt to me like musical whiplash to put all of the ideas that came in these past 2 years onto this one release. So what we're planning on doing is having this next release go more into I guess more or less softer, more acoustic direction, whereas the release after that probably will have the more heavy, more rocky tunes on it, more blues rock and stuff like that. And the song that I was talking about is definitely like a blues rock number, so it just feels more at home to put it with the other songs that we'll be releasing next after our next release.
All right, sounds good. Can't wait to hear it too. So leave it up to you guys. All right. So I know you mentioned about social media earlier too. So I guess first off, who does the social media work? Do you both have a hand in it?
Well, that would also be me.
All right. I guess first off,
Yeah.
Are you part of the Facebook group Band Together?
Yes, we are.
I guess how'd you join? And I guess is there something you hope to achieve with your YouTube channel or not YouTube, but also social media?
Well, the way we joined actually was that Joel already had his socials up and running far longer than we had for his Steam Slicer project. That in case you're listening and you haven't heard of Steam Slicer yet, what are you doing? Listen to it. It's so good. It's so fantastic. I don't have words for the utter musical magic that comes out of Joel's single brain. Wait, that didn't come out right. I mean, I'm trying to say that he's the only person who he's a one-man band is what I'm saying. But you really need to go listen to that. But he already had his social set up and connected with many other musicians, and he kept telling me about how great this is. And I said, yeah, I'll get around to that. I'll set up an account for us someday as well. And then this, I think February is when I started. I actually got around to that, and ever since I'm so hooked. The indie community is just such a great place to be. I mean, it's the actual best the internet has to offer. I mean, we always talk about, how horrible the internet is as a place, but this is just it's been nothing but support and kindness and love for the things that we all collectively love together, and it's been a great big boost to my drive to make more music, to make better music. To connect with other musicians. It's just it's been such a fantastic experience.
Yeah, that's for sure. Actually, did you find out about it on your own, or did you get invited by Christina and Greg from Fox and Sticks?
Well, funnily enough, I kind of got this to-do list. No, well, it's not a to-do list. It was just this list of accounts that Joel sent me and said, "Okay, so now you have an account. Follow these guys." And that's what I did. And we were lucky enough to have our profile picture in place already. And Christina, of course, recognized Joelle on our profile picture, which made her make a post right away to call the whole Band Together community to give us a follow, and that really kickstarted our social media presence. I mean, before that, the only thing we had was an Instagram account with I think it was like 60. It wasn't any more than 60 followers, and which isn't a lot, especially if you're a three-piece band. That means that you couldn't even get 20 people that you knew to follow you on Instagram, which I mean, boy, I mean, as sometimes I thought it's like, is this going to cost them money, or why can't they just click on follow and then ignore all the content they don't want to see anyway? But whatever. And then that just changed overnight with the communities, and I just think it's so wonderful because so many like-minded people then get to hear my music, and I get to hear or our music, and I get to hear the music of so many other musicians that are so incredibly talented. And it's just such a wonderful thing to comment on somebody's post and say, "Hey, I listened to this. This was so amazing," and just to feel through the screen the gratitude for compliments like that is just exhilarating.
Yeah, what Christina and them got going on definitely really helps out too. I was trying to think, it was like, maybe was it one of those little posts that she put on, like, "Hey, check out Multivariate Outliers and go check out their music. Give them their first 100 followers."
That's exactly what it was. Yes.
Yeah, it was along those lines. So that's pretty cool. And I guess if you guys want to do any music promotion right now, I guess go ahead. And I guess what are social media you're currently on?
Sophie's grinning at me as to give me the cue, I guess. Well, I guess this is kind of difficult because like the past 1.5 years I've spent talking to Sophie, kind of in every conversation I kind of said, you know what we really ought to do? Release some more music. And it's so we have very high standards. Not to say that our music is the best ever. It's just that we aren't happy with our own music until we don't see any other way to improve it anymore, which is very unproductive in a way, but hopefully it guarantees that the quality of the music is going to be there then. So we are really trying to find the time among work and family to work on the music, and then to have a realistic timeline of really releasing new music. And we've just talked about this today, actually, is what we want to do is that we don't want to go ahead with our next release as a full album. We want to go ahead with a few singles first. And some of the songs are already at the stage that they only need to be mixed and mastered, which will be my project then, together with Joelle in the next few days and weeks, probably. So that, let's see, what is it now? Today it's St. Patrick's Day. So I'm guessing that we're looking at June or something like that, hopefully, where we can then have our next single out. And then following that, hopefully every few weeks, 2 or 3 more singles, and then the full album this year still. But it's really hard to hurry this, and I wish I could be more, I could pinpoint when this is going to be done. But turns out, sadly, music isn't my full-time job. It'd be great if it was, but I guess I can't make any clear deadlines known.
All right, fair enough too. But we'll leave it up to you guys too, but keep us posted on social media whenever you guys got some new music coming out there too. But I know when you were talking about there, I guess, is time constraints one of the biggest challenges you face? And let's go with Sophie right now because she's been pretty quiet the last few minutes.
Yeah, I think basically it's time constraints because first when Joel joined our group, then he got his kid, and then like a year later, I think, I don't know. Don't pinpoint me on the exact numbers, but a year later I got my daughter, and so it was also we had always had to plan around the family, and then of course there's the jobs as well. I think Kevin can elaborate more on that one, but we had the time issues with the 8-people band or 7-people band. And now we are only 3 people, but it's still an issue. And now I think if we want to record one song, then Kevin and his wife need to come to visit me and my husband. So we all 4 have to have time so that the children are watched, or the child, and so that we can record without too much hustle. So yeah, it's basically time, because I think if it was only that we do it because we want it, then we would do it all the time, I think.
The guy who's the music teacher has the most trouble with everything that's going on too. So, and that's also a joke, like, you get a kid and you get a kid, Kevin, you get a kid now. So,
well, I was contemplating saying this, and I thought, no, it's not a good idea to talk about this. But I mean, it feels like I can't, because then it's like all going to go ahead again. That we will have even more time constraints by doing that. But that, of course, isn't anything that would ever get in the way of the more important things in life, and those are always family. That's obvious, of course. Music is so important to all the 3 of us, but we've always gone about making music together, or concentrating on our music when more important needs have been met. And that's always been important to us, that we put family first, and then I guess our passion for music second, which isn't very easy. Not always. Sometimes it's very difficult. But I think in the end, it's the right decision, and long term, of course, it is. This, of course, means then it takes longer for us to get things finished, and I am itching to write new songs, and I keep saying, no, don't. You got to finish the old stuff first, but because the old stuff some of it is already 2 or 3 years old now, and I kind of want to do new stuff and not work on the old things until they're absolutely perfect. But it's such a weird process of writing songs, that sometimes things go really fast, sometimes things go really slow, that you actually need so much time for things to be able to go slow sometimes, for them to actually go anywhere and get done.
You would enjoy a slow ride. Otherwise, cue the song from Volcat just to play. Slow ride, take it easy. So, nice and steady. That's what we should do. So, all right, that's fair enough. And I guess in terms of advice, in terms of people in our musicians in the Band Together community, maybe even musicians in your neck of the woods, or really anywhere else in the world too, I guess, what advice would you give to musicians who really need it out there? And we'll start with you, Sophie.
I'm not really sure if I'm in the place to give someone advice, but if I had to, I would say just do the things you have fun doing, because if you don't have fun doing it, then you won't do it for long. So, yeah, that would be my advice, I'd say.
Short and sweet, to the point. All right, I guess, Kevin.
I'll go even shorter. I'll try at least, and I'm already failing at this. But I was going to say, you do you. basically. And if I needed to elaborate, which I gladly will,
Knock yourself out.
It's don't get stuck trying to be something in particular that you think would be really great or would have people listening to your music. Don't try to chase formulas that you don't believe in yourself, really, or that don't feel right to you. It's good to know about formulas and things that you think something needs to be, but only if it makes you happy, and not if you're just, I mean, if it's just doing your homework, then there are more productive things than music you could be doing. That's the wonderful thing about music. It isn't productive. It's called music production, but there's not too much for many productive things about it, other than that you're making this wonderful little waste of time that is just so, but in the best sense of the word. I mean, it's just something that you can spend time on, and it is just this beautiful little thing. And if this beautiful little thing isn't you that you're doing, then it's never really going to sit right with you. So I think trying to get rid of like these ideas of what things are supposed to be and how you're going to get there, just do what comes to mind and see where that journey takes you, and you'll be surprised by where it goes.
Absolutely. And really, that's all I got to do at some points, so I can see why. All right. So Sophie and Kevin, we talked for a good bit here, right here, and we breezed through the questions. So I guess let's go ahead and jump to the fun ones. Ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
All right. Let's start with the first one right here, I guess. Sophia, what would you consider is your favorite food?
Curry. Red Thai curry.
Curry? I wasn't going to get a lot of Asian foods recently, too. In the last few interviews, there's always been something out of Asia, to be honest. I don't know what it is. It's freaky. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been to Thailand a few times, and I don't know, it's just the best, and I can have it all the time.
Before we get to Kevin, I guess, how is Thailand?
Hot? I don't know.
I mean, outside of that, I mean, yeah.
I don't know. I just like it there. My grandparents lived there for a bit longer, and so I go there and visit them, and I don't know, be at the beach there, and just relax and don't have to do anything. It's just a great time.
All right. And I guess Kevin?
I've never been to Thailand. Oh, that's not the question, is it?
No, it wasn't much. Well, thanks for answering part B of the question.
I'm going to do the smart thing here, and I'm going to say that it's Sophie's curry.
Oh, you copycat. What? Nobody likes the German food?
I enjoy German food, I think. I wonder sometimes if Germans really eat that much German food. I think Germans really enjoy eating other cuisines as well. So like the real traditional German food, like grandma used to make, I guess, really is. I think in a lot of places it has become what grandma used to make, but a lot of people don't really take that up in their own cooking repertoire. But maybe that's just me. I'm not sure.
I mean, you got Italy just a little further south right there, so you can just grab some Italian cuisine right there.
That's true.
And I guess for the next one here, Sophia, what would you consider has been your favorite movie?
I really don't watch a lot of movies, so that one's actually a bit easy because it's Interstellar. For me, it's one of the greatest movie of all times. Yeah, I don't know. I feel really like maybe it's one of the very few movies that I watched and cried when I watched it.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey put on a good performance for that one. All right, and Kev.
It's hard. I'm kind of the opposite of Sophia, I guess. I watch a lot of movies, so it's and that makes it really hard for me to pick and choose. But I guess movies that always stick with me are movies with great music. and for me, one of the best soundtracks that has ever been written is the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. The film music is just so thought out. It just blows my mind. I could watch the movie without all the dialogue and just listen to the music and just go along with the story beats and just be amazed by all the details that are put into the music. And then I could take the music out as well, and at least the Fellowship of the Ring, like the first half, I think I can recite it verbatim, just because I've seen the movie so often. It's kind of sad in a way as well, but it's a lot of fun. I always annoy my wife when I start talking, when I start doing the dialogues in the voices.
You know, I know what you mean too, and I think my parents and my sister, they would look at me funny if I just remember like what line goes where whenever the scene comes up too. So I can relate. That's definitely funny. Actually, when you were saying the original one too, I was thinking there was a animated one they did like way back in the day. I think it was Ralph Bakshi that actually did one. So I thought that's what you meant at first, but no, he was talking about.
No, I just said the original trilogy to keep a very very large distance from the Hobbit movies, which for me are on an entirely different page, sadly. But maybe that's a topic for another time.
Yeah, well, whatever. I know what you meant too. So good choice. All right, and Sophie, first off, do you both drink alcohol at all?
Not anymore, or not at the time.
Okay. I guess, what would you consider, I guess, Kevin, since you didn't really answer it, I guess, what would you consider your favorite alcoholic drink and non-alcoholic drink? Sophie, I think you want to go first. Yeah.
Okay. I thought you wanted Kevin first. So for me, I think I have to be very boring on this question because I drink water all the time. And I like water, but maybe I'm not that boring because I like sparkling water a lot, and I drank sparkling water all my life, and only started drinking non-sparkling water when I was in an exchange year in the US. Because it was not that common there, and so these days I also drink non-sparkling water. Just water.
Fair enough. I would say I'm not very crazy about mineral water, sorry to say the least. So you can see why it's not popular in the States. But nonetheless, Kevin?
Well, I don't usually drink a whole lot of alcohol. I mean, very, very, very rarely, actually. But what I do really enjoy is that the Irish pub that they have in Heidelberg, they put on a pub quiz once a week. And if I can find the time, and some fellow quizzers, we like to go there, so I'll have to go with a pint of Guinness.
Unfortunately, I had a bad experience with Guinness, and that was in Salzburg because the drinking age was 16. And I shouldn't really say bad experience. It was just like one of those tastes was like, nah, dark beer is not really my favorite. So I don't know if they did I think they did like a little free leaf clover. I don't know. I think they were doing something artistic with the foam on top. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know. People get creative at times when it comes to certain things like that. So, and for the last of the fun questions, Sophie, what would you consider is currently your favorite song or a song you've been listening to a good bit recently?
Well, actually, I have listened to the playlist that Kevin did. It's MVO Shine a Light or Shine. Could you say the name of the playlist?
It's confusing because we can plug that here as well. We've got two playlists. So we have the one is called Shine a Light, which always has 25 tracks that we've collected over the usually like past 2 weeks or so that really spoke to us. And then we have a second playlist called Shining On. That's why it's really confusing, where we just put all of the music that has ever been on the Shine a Light. Oh my goodness, now I'm getting confused. Playlist, just so that we have like a record of all the great music that we've come across in the indie community.
Yeah, but I really like the indie songs that I listen to on this playlist because I don't know, it's just I was so amazed how good so many of the artists are because I don't really understand how any of these songs are worse than what's on the radio, or not as good as what's on the radio, or maybe even better. And yeah, so I really like to listen to that. And if I'd have to pick songs, maybe I pick two. As I like the Whiskey, Wine, and Women song by Ronner, and because I don't know, it feels a bit a country also, and I just like it. And I also like the Ride of Your Life by JLD. Yeah, I like those, but like it's just if I had to pick some, because I like a lot of the songs.
I was say especially some good ones for St. Patty's Day. So, all right. And Kevin, I guess did you answer your question earlier?
Well, I'll try to be a little more diplomatic about this. Or a little more. I'm gonna weasel my way out of this question as well by just saying these playlists are exactly. They're 25 tracks long because I can't decide. I couldn't ever get it down to 10. It's just because there's so much great music out there, and I just love showing or using that little bit of a platform that I have through social media, using that to show this music to as many people as possible. So I'm going to weasel my way out of that. But I'm not going to weasel my way out all the way, because I think a good way to get out of this is just to go with a piece of classical music that has always meant a huge amount to me. And that would have to be Mahler's Fourth Symphony, which is a bit of an odd choice. Like the real Mahler nuts usually go in for the other symphonies. The Fourth Symphony, for a lot of them, is a bit too conservative. He's not really pushing the envelope in that one, but it's just such great music, especially the slow movement. My goodness, here I am on camera, and I'll tell you. It brings me to tears regularly, even though I know like every note of the piece by now. But it just connects with me in this very strange way that I probably still don't quite understand.
I can see why. Hey, we got our first classical one. So normally people have always listed one in any community that was usually some variant of rock, maybe a little bit hip hop, or maybe even metal at times too. So I mean, we got our first one that liked a classical song. All right, we got it. That's all that matters. So, all right. So, Sophie and Kevin, we talked for almost an hour and 30 minutes right here. We are down to one more question. Before we jump into it, did you have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
Well,
first. So.
What?
Sorry. Did you have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into it, Sophie?
Oh, now I'm feeling like in the job interview where you have to ask questions at the end and you weren't prepared. Maybe I can pass that question on.
If you want to pass it on to Kevin, I mean, go ahead. So.
Well, I think most importantly, we need to thank you for this wonderful opportunity to go on and on and on about the things that we love, and have somebody as fantastic as you to listen to us while we do so. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We were really excited about this. And just are just so thankful that someone takes interest into what we do to such a level to spend an hour and a half of what I can only imagine is also a very, very busy schedule. And we're just chuffed. We are over the moon happy. So thank you very, very much for that.
No worries. It would have been nice to have Joel on here as well, too. So maybe you could have shared maybe other stories as well. But nonetheless, you all did a pretty damn good job. So it's good to have you both on here. So if there be nothing else, Sophie, Kevin, if there's nothing else, okay, we jump into the final question.
Sure.
Okay. I'll take that as a yes from Sophie. Okay.
Yeah.
For the last question, you might have harped on it a little bit too, but just to kind of reiterate, given what COVID has done, obviously it seems you guys have been blessed in some sort of way too. Maybe you had some sort of hardships here and there. For those musicians who were impacted by COVID or really anything else in their lives, what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians and people out there as we try to move forward in the post-COVID world?
I think at least also what COVID has shown me is how important things actually are that we take for granted, or that we took for granted. Music, and especially live. I mean, this is a bit rich coming from a recording band, but especially live music is just um, such a valuable experience to make and to have in your life, and is something that is just so important in so many ways because it just connects you with different people. It gives you something to get excited about together. It's just this wonderful experience. And as I said, I'm a teacher, and I was talking to some students even a few years ago that, were exactly at that age when they would first start going to see gigs and concerts and enjoy live music, and they didn't do that. And I, especially for somebody who thinks it's such an incredibly valuable experience, to me it was really strange to tell them, it's really fun. You should go someday. And I think that's that paradoxical thing, that it's something that we take for granted, and at the same time it's such a great thing. So even though it is difficult, and I think for many it has become more difficult after the pandemic to really get out there and have their music heard and be played and to get gigs. I think it's so worth it to keep trying, and just to get out there and try to make yourself heard, because it'll mean something to someone, and that is just something that is beautiful.
All right, Sophie, can you try to top that?
No way I can top that, but I can add maybe something. I think during the pandemic, I think it has impacted many aspects of life. For example, also work life. So maybe not in teaching, but in other jobs, we can work remotely, and then we can address one of the biggest points, that is time constraints. So because maybe you work remotely, then you have more time that you can put into music. And also, I think that because of all that is going on online, maybe you can connect to other musicians around the world more easily. And yeah, I think that's a good thing. And so it's not all bad.
Well, I would hope, but spoke like about two prodigies. All right. So Sophie and Kevin, we reached the end of my podcast right here, and boy, do we talk for a good bit. That I guess. Do you have any final words? Any shout outs you want to give before we close?
Oh, it's kind of choosing the favorite child. You can't really do that, can you? I mean, I can't really pick anybody out too much, except a few people that have made us feel so very welcome from the beginning in our journey with the indie community. That, of course, being Christina from Box and Six, who on day one, when we made our way to Facebook, has already been there for us. I just love the support I'm getting from artists like Stolen from the Sky and Ghost of Rucker, who are just incredibly supportive, and that I feel somehow connected by the music that we make, even though we've never made music together. It seems like it gels well. And now I'm getting into trouble because I'm not naming 20 other people who just as well have deserved this, and these just the few people that came to the top of my mind. So whoever I'm forgetting right now, I'm so sorry. I'm horrible at this. Please don't take offense. You are loved. Thank you so much for being there. Oh, I should have just shut up as always.
Oh, we can only say Christina is the favorite of all the children that is in our little group right now. So good job there, Kevin. Good job. All right. And Sophie, any shout outs or final words?
Maybe I just do that what Kevin said in the end. I just don't say anything to that. No, just yeah. I just I don't know. I like what I read in the community. Like we said earlier, I'm not really the active part on social media, but still I see what comments are there, and I don't know. I really like how nice everybody is. So like Kevin said earlier, it's the good side of the internet, and I just like that. And so it's just a shout out to, I don't know, to the community, and that, yeah, that it is a community that we are in.
Okay. And Kevin, can you just say what social media and streaming platforms you all are on so people can check out your music and follow you guys?
Right. So streaming wise, we should be, if at least last time I checked, on all the major streaming platforms. So if you search for Multivariate Outliers, the great thing of that horribly long and complicated band name is there's only one of us out there. So you will find us. And also on Instagram, if you just run it all together, no underscores, nothing, just Multivariate Outliers is one word. That's our Instagram handle. And on Facebook, you can find us by searching for the Multivariate Outliers as well. And I'd love to connect with anybody. And Sophie will love to read about it. And if she wants to say something, I let me tell you, she does tell me. If you want to, just talk to us, go right ahead. I'm looking forward to connecting with you.
All right, sounds good. So everyone, my guest today was Kevin and Sophie, hailing from Deutschland. Heidelberg, Deutschland, to be more specific, but they're part of the rock group, or let's just say pop group. Let's just say pop group, or in this case, the soft pop group, Multivariate Outliers. Sorry, now I get mixed up with the genres too. They're part of Multivariate Outliers. There we go. We'll just give it that way. So, all right. So go hit them up on the socials. Go subscribe to their channels. Go listen to their music and everything too. These guys, along with Joel, are doing wonders out in the world there too. And we can't wait to hear what Joel's got on your next album right there too. So, Sophie, Kevin, y'all stay safe. Have a good night, y'all. Rock on and stay tuned, y'all.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.